a podcast created by two guys brought together by movement, transformed into brotherhood. The boys share their authenticity as they deep dive into what it means to explore this human experience, shedding light on personal trials and accumulated wisdom. Conscious Collingwood is meant to provoke thought and insight to expand your personal awareness. Come along for the journey as Justin and Jeff exemplify what it means to be a man living wholeheartedly, balancing the divine, masculine, and feminine. Welcome to Conscious Collingwood.
You ever see the golf ball in the table?
I have seen.
Isn't that a nice little detail?
Gorgeous. Is this black walnut?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can tell it's really, really beautiful.
Do you know how much that tree at Everlove is probably worth?
I can only imagine.
Just straight.
So straight. Black walnut. I made a desk out of black walnut last year.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful project, and it was just kind of nice to work with wood.
Yeah.
Build something.
It's always nice to work
Actually,
with wood.
2 years ago. Yeah.
Makes you feel like a man.
Yeah. Live edge, just like this.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
It's really weird on this side of the couch.
I know. You've changed.
See you, Steven. You lock that door?
Yeah, I got, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, pal.
I thought because we always default to the same side, gotta switch it up.
Yeah.
Creatures of habit.
Yeah. It's like being in yoga and changing just the way you hold your hands or something, right?
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. Huh. So, what do you want to talk about today, Jeff?
I don't know,
You bring
Justin.
up the topic.
Well, we were brainstorming before we got on camera, and we took a nice little list of things. But I think, maybe starting off with our archetype, our higher selves, and what that all means for us individually.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, it encompasses many different topics.
Yeah, it does.
You know, it's kind of a summary. The higher self is a summary of the best version of ourselves and what that takes to be our best selves, you know?
Yeah, and it's something we're always going to talk about because it's the language we use in self-development and how we're kind of bettering ourselves as almost like a North Star, as a guide.
Yeah.
So it's going to give a lot of, it's kind of backstory yet information, and then for the people listening to the podcast, they can start getting curious of what maybe their archetype is.
Yeah.
And sorry.
No. Did I cut you off? I'm just excited to speak.
Talk.
I think what I've recognized, and it's hitting me now, but what I've recognized in the last little bit is the amount of higher self work that happens through Everlove. I've been to Ariana's Purpose Quest and then your and hers movement experience, and that focused energy on who we want to be. And growing up, I just wanted to be better, but I was never conscious about it. And I'm wondering, I have no regrets or anything like that, but I'm just wondering if I was more in tune and more focused and intentional with trying to be better, where I would be, because I'm pretty sure I would have forked and diverted in certain areas where if I had a common goal and my why was strong and I did an exercise every week about picked, 3 or 4 words. You nervous?
Always.
No, but if I live with a little more focused intention, it'd be interesting to see where things would be.
Yeah.
But knowing the power of those practices is only going to better me now. So it's what it is.
Yeah, and intention is a directed flow of consciousness between you and the thing you're thinking about. You're putting intention on, and that puts tension between you and the object and brings it closer. Because all thoughts and dreams or imagination becomes reality over time as long as you can hold the intention. Spaceship was a thought, car was a thought. It was a dream, it was an idea, and then because there was so much intention on it, it manifested into a material thing.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be important to talk or explain archetype. And an archetype is it's a psychophysical theme, or it's a psychological theme. If you look at Carl Jung of Jungian psychology, he talks a lot about archetypes, and it's a projection of a psyche with behaviors. So we naturally will like have these archetypes as we move through life. The archetype of the child, the archetype of the mother, the father, the king, the warrior, and yeah. So the archetype of the child would be you are cared for, you externalize responsibility to others to like help feed you, take care of you, and then as you like age, there's the archetype of the warrior, and so that's when you you begin the stages of individuation, where you're a teenager usually, and you start rejecting the ideas and beliefs of your parents or question to start kind of creating your own idea of the world. So, and then you start wanting to fight for things. You start creating your belief systems, and that's the warrior archetype. So oftentimes we spend this time in trying to find ourselves as the warrior, to have something to fight for, something to live for. You don't really have to fight all the time. It's just, and then eventually, you come into the king or the queen stage, where you've established yourself in your trade or job. You have a home, you may have some sort of material success, and you are the king of your reality, or the queen of your reality. And then the final stage would be the wise man, the wise woman, where you've lived enough life, or have enough life experience, and you've gathered enough wisdom to see all the past archetypes of yourself through your stages of development, and a little bit more wisdom. But yeah, so that's a little bit different from the higher self archetype that we're going to talk about, but it kind of gives a little bit backstory of like, what is an archetype? It's a psychological theme that people play out. The victim's also an archetype, the saboteur, and they all have a positive and a negative archetype. So
that was a wealth of knowledge. I was sitting here taking it all in. And as you're describing it, what's hitting me is a reflection that there's many of us that don't leave that child-like archetype, or never graduate to the warrior or the king, right? Where we get stuck in certain things. We're the victim one, right? So would you say that's accurate?
Yeah. Well, of course. Yeah.
Maybe that's why society's in such shambles right now.
Looking for someone to take care of them. Yeah. Where are you externalizing your responsibility for yourself? We're technically in a society where it's like and I had to live this for 25 years, where I was like, doctor, I can't breathe, like help me out. And then it got to the point where none of the medication was working. Like I was like, I'm tired of this. Yeah. And then it was me being like, okay, I'm gonna take full responsibility for myself. I'm going to do all the learning, all the application, on top of working a full-time job, which was exhausting, drywall. Yeah. And my God, I found myself along the journey, but it was, and that's the true warriors, or the, what is it called? The warrior's journey, where you find yourself, you take responsibility for your life, and
because you're hitting on what I was thinking about when you're describing the warrior archetype as well. And I'm sure there's a lot of conditioning and patterns that I used to fight for, or used to try and uphold, and then recognizing that this doesn't really work. And I've got to individuate myself from that pre-program, if you will, and listen to my intuition, come back to myself, right, and center, and go, okay, I got to start thinking more for myself and not whatever this out here might be, right? Yeah. Whatever conditioning I might have received from my parents, or those around me. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. And self-development is the warrior's journey. It's the, okay, let's take full responsibility for like who I am and who I'm becoming.
Do you think the individuation ever goes away?
No.
No, you're always trying to find yourself and not separate, but like
the greatest gift you can give to the world is your authenticity. So it's just the practice of being with yourself, accepting where you are and who you are, and everything you've had to go through to be in this moment, being at ease with yourself in that place. But yeah, individuation, when I talk about individuation, I kind of talk about it as like, it's the process of finding yourself. But yeah, technically it's a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
But I think you get to the point where it's acceptance. And I can confidently say that I know who I am as a person.
Yeah.
I still have work to do. And that's never going to change. But
I think about the individuation as a teenager, as a child becoming a teenager, adolescence, all that sort of stuff, and you fight for your own voice and, you know, curfews and all that sort of stuff.
You got a teenage girl at home, so.
I don't practice Catholicism anymore. Not that I ever really did practice it, but I always go back to this sometimes. Just whatever flicker of hope might be in that practice. Yeah. But where was I going with that? So yeah, as teenagers, we're finding ourselves, but not to get too off topic, I know we want to circle back to our own individual archetypes and who we're chasing, if you will. But I would say the strength and confidence in who I feel I am now has been revealed over the last 3 years. Like, I don't even want to say the word, but like the last 3 years of all the hoopla has really brought me a lot of strength and courage and bravery for sharing my voice, sticking to my authenticity with respect to everything going on. And I really try and look at the last 3 years and take as many positives, you know, and not focus on the negatives. I know there's a lot, but there's a lot of positives I would take out of the last 3 years for sure. And I'm way better for it all. You know, it's a fucking laundry list. Like it goes on forever, you know? So just speaking specifically to the last couple of years in individuation, it's like, yeah.
If you look at Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, it's like the beginning of the journey starts with some sort of event that takes you into, wow, things got to change, or I got to grow up. You know, that it always has to start with a crisis, or it doesn't always have to, but in the hero's journey of Joseph Campbell's variation, it's usually a crisis or a.
So listening to you, I was and I'll have to maybe do some research, my own reading and stuff on Carl and everything else, but I kind of got, listening to you, got stuck that these would be stages that you just stay at, but really that king can go back into being a hero or a warrior and stuff like that, right? Or even the wise man or woman, similarly, there's more life lessons to learn, so they might have to step into that hero archetype again or whatever, right? Or the cycle starts over.
Yeah, I think that all self-development, and I'd avoid saying enlightenment, but just because it can trigger people, but really it's what it is. It's just enlightenment, but you have to transcend, but then include. So every stage of your life, you have to transcend where you're at to become who you're meant to be, but you have to include the learning from what you went through. So you have to transcend, include, transcend, include. And it's not that you fall back, but it's that you now have the wisdom, because wisdom only comes from participation and application of teachings and life experience. And then as you elevate, you know those parts of you, and you can bring them forth in a healthy fashion.
Yeah. I like that.
To navigate the challenges of your life.
Cool. I was going to say something, but I don't want to get off topic. So would you like to share, or you would like me to share?
You go. Yeah. I just realized mine today.
Yeah? That was a nice moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So the quick backstory on how this came to be, I suppose. So with Ariana's Purpose Quest, one of the exercises we did, awareness exercises we did, was we had to create a ship. And so we had to assemble that ship with a team. And so you had to find a captain, crewmates, a chef, all the things that would take, all the personnel required to make a ship operate. And it was so crazy because when I started doing the exercise, the first person who popped into my head who would be my captain was Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And
hell yeah.
And I love it. And so I think during your movement experience as well, it came up again, and Tom was still there. And for me, outside of perhaps his personal life and the theories, rumors, and drama that might be, I focus on him as an actor.
Yeah.
Look at inside your smile.
Good call.
And because I don't know.
We don't know.
Don't know. None of it could be true. It could all be bullshit. Yeah. But if I focus on him as the actor, I just love his passion for his craft, his ability to put in the work. His recent movie, he's 61, and he's jumping off cliffs. He's repeating, and the repetitiveness in his preparation is just intense. And so yeah, I kind of admire his passion for his craft and his leadership as well. He's not just acting; he's also producing and directing to some degree. And yeah, so like I said, I really just try and focus on his acting attributes and what he does in that profession. And I have recently a couple times, been getting out of bed or something where I'm just kind of, I've got the mental masturbation, as you put it, going on. And it's just like, I'll return to, what would Tom do? Mm-hmm. What would Tom Cruise do right now? Well, he's going to probably go for a sprint or a run.
Yeah.
Or he's going to look at his material and do some editing or producing or something. And so, again, it's one of those, just a quick trigger, something just to move me past and through the BS, mm-hmm. the narrative, and just, okay, let's be better. So
procrastination.
Yeah. So that's what Tom means to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I took a little bit of a different spin with my higher self archetype. Naturally, I've been hearing the conversations of the higher self archetype ever since the Purpose Quest, and I've thought about it a lot, but I always came back to, can it just be me?
You narcissist.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
And then today, I said that, and you mentioned, have you heard Matthew McConaughey's speech at the Grammys or Oscars or whatever it is? I don't know, dude.
Grammys.
What's the difference?
You know what? He did an audiobook. It could have been the Grammys. I don't know. Maybe they give awards for audiobooks at the Grammys. I don't know. But anyway, the Oscar speech,
where he talks about how he's always aspiring to be the man that he's going to be in 10 years. And it resonates with me, not that Matthew McConaughey is not my captain, but I'm my captain, and it's the future version of myself, that the man I'm becoming. Mm-hmm. That I can be like, okay, I can reflect, what would the man that I'm going to be in the future, what would he have done in this situation to overcome it or participate? Yeah. Yeah,
I like that. And not that I'm changing things, or not that I don't respect Tom and he's still not call it a pillar for me, but I would say I use him in those moments where I need a strong trigger, where myself just needs a little bit more help. But as I'm hearing you, like one of the, and you're doing a very good job of that in your Surge class, or in the class of the meditation, and it's a visualization of our higher self and what we need to do to achieve that, etc. And was it at the movement experience, Ariana, I think, was leading a meditation, and if I'm correct, it was, meeting our future self. And so as I practice that more, it's a very good practice, because it's not now external. I'm not focusing on what Tom would do. It's, okay, what's Jeff from 5 years from now, visualizing what does he look like, how does he feel, and now there's a stronger connection as opposed to me going, I got to go run a motorbike and jump off a cliff. It's like, no, that's
if I Tom Cruise vacation dream, baby.
But if I need motivation to run up the mountain or something or do the beep test, I might tap into that one. If I need it. But circling back, I think what you're doing and just that reminder of continue to visualize who you want to be in the future is such a strong practice.
What once I learned that the heart is a magnet, has a magnetic field, it was formed first and then our body was formed around it. And one thing in my life has always been feel it to believe it. So I had all these limitations around my breathing, my health, and then I started feeling better. And then I gained confidence and I was like, wow, my participation has created all these fruits and now I get to enjoy them. And then the more that I've participated and like helped create Everlove as a studio, started my business, like it was through just pure authenticity and listening to my heart and wanting to do what I loved. And really, some people call it manifestation, but I had a belief in myself and a desire to make the world a better place. And that was like my North Star. It was like pretty like general, just like I want to make the world a better place. These are the gifts and this is the knowledge that I like to learn and maybe I share it and it resonates. And there's parts of me that, so I created this class, the Surge, which is a strength-based flow class. But some parts of me feel like the meditation's a little redundant, but that would take away, that's just like criticism, because coming back to remembering who you are becoming is so impactful. Because as soon as you can feel a feeling in your heart and then make that connection, having or holding the vibration or the feeling within your heart for any given time is going to create or change a neural circuit so that you can feel that a little bit easier more and more. Because you can train, and one thing I've learned through, I train people in exercise, movement, but you can also train thoughts and you can train emotions. So we're not really taught this, but if we can, and meditation is kind of the perfect little journey into it, but if we can quiet down, tune into the heart, the feeling of the heart, and know that it's going to be hard to feel at first, but the more you do it, the more powerful it'll get. And you could probably speak on that a little bit more than I could, but just because you participated in the class. But the more you feel, the closer you draw that towards you. But also, your life's constantly changing, so you're always progressing. So yes, the meditation might be redundant, but it's always almost new, because what you need in a moment, each day you're gathering more information to the direction that you're going.
Do you use the word redundant as in boring?
Just repeated.
See, because as you're sharing that, I would argue that many people come to the class for that reason. Because it's probably one single time in that day, if not the week, where they're actually seriously focusing on themselves and the higher version of themselves they want to be. Because you've started leading the class, a little bit of breath work, so that gets the the juices flowing, if you will, and then we get into the movement based stuff, and it can be very challenging at times. And so getting through that process, and at the end being proud of yourself, and you're obviously providing praise and feedback, and then do the meditation, like it's a really good feeling. And so I could be wrong, but I just feel like many people probably enjoy that class because of the last 3 minutes or so.
Didn't even think about it. That's great.
Yeah,
that's a great perspective. Thanks, bro.
Camera trauma.
We're still good.
You know what comes up for me, dude, when I was thinking about the Tom Cruise stuff. Then you're chasing your higher self, and so is Matthew McConaughey. But there's a self-love aspect, and I just started thinking to myself. It hit me. It's like, I wonder. Like, I think I do look up to myself, and I am proud of myself. But I wonder if I disassociate a little bit because there's a self-love sticky point or something. Because a couple times in Aries meditation there and stuff, it wasn't difficult, but it just was awkward to really visualize yourself 5 years from now and really connect with that. But the more I'm doing it, the more proud, I guess you could say, I feel, or the more resonance there is. Like, there's more connection now. So maybe that's just the end of the conversation. But for me, I'm just like, I think there might be a self-love part where I haven't been able to really focus on myself. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's hitting me.
You know what?
There's some awareness there, I think.
Yeah.
For me to look at.
The key to change is awareness. But even you just said proud. Like, you wouldn't say proud if you didn't already start feeling more proud of who you are today, because you're proud of the person that you see in the future. So it's creating changes, and you might not even notice it, but now your language is like sharing.
Subconscious, yeah.
Your subconscious is sharing that you're proud, which is so cool.
Yeah.
So,
well, dude, like during, again, I hate repeating it, but the purpose quest, the movement experience were poignant. So, we did a breathwork exercise at the Purpose Quest, and I didn't really know where it was going to go. I haven't done too many, and there was a room full of people, obviously, and the energy was just crazy, and it ended up being an hour long. But the release some people had, like just over oxygenating yourself, and the energy that's moving through your body, stuff is going to get released, and it was fucked. Like, I remember the first time someone cried, like my initial reaction was to get up and go hug them and support them. And then I sat there and go, that's not your job. They need to go through this themselves. They need to support themselves. And then I just went back to myself and focused. So, I mean, thankfully I'm an empathetic, compassionate person, but I recognized in that moment, like, not that I would have done it, but the point is, that's where my heart was going. And so I came back to myself, and I had so many downloads and releasing that I ended up sitting up. It felt like it was halfway through, but it might have been 3/4 of the way through. And I just grabbed my journal and I just started scribbling. And I look back at it now, and I have to go through it. I need to decipher through it. But like, it looks like I'm just completely loaded. Like, it's just scribbles. Like, it was just outer body almost. And the reason I'm sharing this story is because the one thing that came up for me was I've never let myself down. And so where this came from too is I'm transitioning away from Ike's Turf and getting into the coaching stuff. And I really felt like I needed Ike's Turf's permission, or I had to give myself permission, because Ike's Turf is an identity. It has a personality of its own. It's a living, breathing thing to some degree. And so it felt like I was betraying it of some sort. And so it was just crazy, the permission I got. And it literally told me, Ike's Turf literally told me, it's like, it's okay. You have the skill set. And if this doesn't work out, or you need to fall back on something, I'm here. You have the tools, you have the resources. Don't worry about it. Go chase what you're supposed to chase. And getting that permission was fucking so liberating. And yeah, and that's where one of the things that came through me was just I've never let myself down. And yeah, I take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I fucking crying like a little bitch too. It was heavy, dude.
Yeah.
What an experience. And I've done a breath workshop since, and I did not have the same release. Other people did. Yeah. But what hit me was that I feel so grounded, and not cocky, but confidently, I feel so grounded and what's the other word I'm looking for here? Just supported in my foundation, that I felt whole. There was coherency.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. And yeah, all this, like all the work you've done this year is really like a deep dive into self. And it just shows, like, there was one experience that was, you created a lot of physiological shifts. And then the other one, you were a little bit more grounded, and you were able to kind of experience in a different way. Yeah. And do different healing. By breath work, so not only are you oxygenating, but the breath is circulation. I always say the human body is a closed hydraulic pump, and we pump through contraction, but also circulation through breathing and movement. So the breath, expands the ribs, decompresses the ribs and the spine, and then pretty much pushes the diaphragm down, and then it comes back, right? So there's a constant pump and flow. So the repetitive breath causes a lot of circulation. And it's a lot of movement of fluid, water, blood, energy, and information. So we're able to really almost detox. And one of the greatest detoxification pathways is actually through the breath. That's why, you have bad breath in the morning. It's detoxification. Also, if you ever get gas on your hands, this is a weird fact, but if you get gas on your gas is detoxed through the tongue. So yeah, you'll if you ever get gas on your hands, just like at the gas station, you'll notice it's going to come through your tongue.
Interesting.
Yeah. Weird. I know.
Oh, I was just thinking. I'll have to pay attention next time. I spill some gas in my hand from time to time. When you just commented there about my journey of awareness here the last little bit, I feel like, because I work with a life coach, and we went through Brene Brown's Daring Way program, so I understood what my core values were, and they helped navigate how I live my life and why I align with certain people and why I get triggered by others. And so very helpful practice. But I feel, that practice, that working with Tammy, it just helped unarm me and free me up a little bit. But where I'm going with that is, I think my awareness to my own spirituality and everything has been really unlocked. And what I've recognized is I did so much work with her that I continued trying to, for me personally, I get in this cycle where I'm like taking so much information, personal growth stuff, that I forget to apply it or take the time to apply it, because I'm just ingesting it all, and I forget to kind of live life. But I think these goes in cycles. At least for me, it feels like it does. So I did that with her, and then I lived my life for a while, if you will, and then it was time to excavate again. And now I've done so much work. It feels like now, okay, let's just live life. Let's not keep looking and searching for shit. Like I feel pretty empty right now.
Yeah.
Which is good. So it's let's support others. Let's live my life to the fullest. And then, who knows? Maybe there'll be a passing in my life, or maybe there's some tragic event, or
something's always going to come.
Something's going to come up, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, I got to clean out that closet.
Yeah. It's like, you clean and organize the garage, really, of your life, your body, your mind.
Yeah.
And now you have a little bit more clarity. You can relax in the backyard, enjoy the afternoon. But inevitably, something's going to come up.
Yeah.
And then look at all the tools now you have to participate with whatever stress or inevitable challenge shows up. It's so very interesting.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You ready?
Let's go.
Do you think it's possible to live this life on Earth with no disease? Did I say that right? Disease free. With it, so I think about some of the like the likes of Ram Dass and Wayne Dyer, like those gentlemen both near the end of life suffered with some ailments, and I mean they wouldn't use the word suffer because they became enlightened because of it. But I just wonder, now they would say they're gifts, but I'm wondering if that's just a way of, did they have issues in their lives that they didn't dissolve or whatever else, and so they had to live in pain and they had to go through that process. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I want to try and avoid it, but I'm just wondering if there's a way to live or is it possible to live call it a clean life, call it a physically pain-free life. That's a God question.
Yeah, it's a deep one, but I love it.
Like working with Paul, I have a feeling he'd be like, you should be able to keep this machine clean.
So, no. it's your participation and engagement with, because if you live a life where it's void of the challenge, you don't have any perspective to grow or change. So it's through the, living the challenge, understanding the challenge. Like, we exercise to get to know ourselves better in that mental state, that physical state, that state of stress and challenge. And we're learning to eyes ourselves and our mind in that arena or in those moments. So I think it would be a detriment, and it wouldn't even work, because life is polarity. We need to, happiness and bliss and love, because on the other end, you've experienced pain, sadness, and other things. So it is the spectrum, and it's constantly like rise and flow. If look at helicopter parents, they're doing their best to take care of this child the best that they can, keeping it free of any challenge or suffering. And then what happens to the child?
Yeah.
They don't have any perspective.
Yeah, clusterfuck. Yeah, you answered that well.
Perspective. Yeah.
Well, what came up for me is I'm wondering if there's an element of fear there. I'll have to maybe look at that a little bit further, but fear of not being able to use the body or something. Because I just use those two gentlemen as an example because they are spiritual gurus, if you will, and yet they still dealt with their ailments. But to your point, which I think you put perfectly,
and to come back to disease,
we wouldn't have had as many more great insights from them if they hadn't gone through that contrast.
Yeah,
you're right. So yeah,
and disease, definitely should touch on that. But disease is really the body doing its best to come back into alignment. Because the body's so resilient, and it's going to do its best to navigate the environment, but also the psyche of the human being, because that has full effect of the person. So there's multiple factors, but we live in a very modern world with toxins in the environment that are hard to avoid.
Yeah.
Like all the hormones in our drinking water and other things like that. So I actually had this conversation with a friend yesterday, and she was like, do you think cancer's, like, I've heard that cancer is caused by sugar. And I was like, yeah, for sure. It can play a role, but because I'm a holistic health guy, I have to think of it as a whole. Like, what are those person's dominant thoughts, feelings, and emotions? What are they eating? How are they breathing? What are they drinking? What do they do every day? Where do they go to work? Like, it's so, there's so many factors to disease. Are they embodied? If you look at the science of cancer, our cells have a sodium-potassium gradient that causes a negative positive charge. So two cells act almost like a magnet. When they don't actually, like, they keep their distance from each other to not become one. Sometimes it's a little bit more complex than what I'm saying. But with cancer, they lose that positive negative gradient and they start clumping together, or a tumor. And then tumors are very dense, so it's just cell packed on cell on cell on cell. And a tumor cell, or a cancer cell, is its own being. So it's disembodied from the whole and is trying to take down the system that it's in so that it can survive. So as a psychophysical theme, and psychophysical theme is like, all right, well, and I like philosophy, so I'm more into what's deeper than just, this guy didn't eat enough bananas and now he's potassium depleted and whatever. But so the psychophysical theme of that is like, okay, well, where are they not embodied with themselves? Like, where did they lose touch? And know that, you know, if you look at traditional Chinese medicine, the chakra system, our feelings, our emotions, and all hold energy in different places in the body, different organs, gland systems, and really like circulation, which we do from movement, is and when done well, which I try to do to the best of my abilities, is direct the flow of energy, like life force energy. So oftentimes when someone comes into me, it's, okay, where are they not moving enough, or what parts of their body? Because pain or stiffness is really the body crying out for attention, love, connection. And the best thing we can do is create connection with ourselves. So I know that, like, Ram Dass sat and did a lot of meditation. So reduced circulation. And I think he had a brain aneurysm or something like that. So that's often a circulation piece. So he may have just gone so far into his soul and consciousness that he didn't do the physical practices that are necessary to maintain the body.
Didn't keep his buckets balanced.
Yeah, he didn't keep his buckets balanced. But it's hard to say. And I'm sure a lot of people would be like, no, that just happens like a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
But there's so many factors.
Yeah. You share a few words there, like alignment and connection, and listening to Zach Bush and his, I wouldn't call it theory, but yeah, research on cancer as well. Again, I'm not any expert or know nothing, but listening to him, I do find he has a simplistic way of explaining it. And to your point, it's like these cells, they lose their connection to their community, if you will, and they lose communication, and so they go rogue trying to find themselves, and now they're trying to survive, and and for whatever reason, wherever parts of those bodies that comes up, it's still possibly a mystery. But just the way he shares that and what you share too is just like it sounds too simple, but it seems very accurate. Right? These cells
it's still like freak cases too.
Yeah.
Like, it's a mystery.
Yeah.
I think it always will be a mystery. But yeah, I don't even know what to say.
No.
It's a mystery at the end of it. But
yeah.
We're doing our best to understand.
Yeah, I know, obviously I'm on I feel like I've always been on a health kick, but for sure consciously just very focused on taking care of the body, and then allowing my days to unravel from there, if you will. I don't mean unravel, but just, build a foundation of making sure I take care of the body first through movement, nutrition, hydration, and then let sleep. Whatever's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And it's proving to work out for me. Yeah. That art of surrender.
And I think where my viewpoint of this is like, to bring it back to the higher self, is like, find a higher self that motivates you to fucking live and love fully. Like, what if you just fucking love this life so much that you every day were just like so stoked?
Yeah.
Like, I'm still stoked even though there's stresses and life challenges in my life. But I know that they're presented because stress is inevitable, and it's an opportunity for me to grow and gain some information that I can, use in the future.
I love that story. I don't know where it originated, but people use this example. But like, imagine you do wake up in the morning and it's your first time in your body, right? You wake up and you're just like, what the fuck is this thing?
Yeah.
What can it do?
Yeah.
How can I maximize the potential of this thing?
Yeah.
And so like literally in the morning, waking up, visualizing like this is the first time in this skin suit, this flesh suit. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And I think right from there, it stimulates gratitude, enthusiasm, appreciation, motivation. But we take waking up for granted. We go to bed, we wake up, and we have these mundane days to some degree. And yeah, like you say, to be able to start our week with a handful of words that are going to motivate us and set us up for success and focus on our higher self, whether it's your meditation or your own personal meditations at home or whatever, in the car, listening to an audiobook or whatever. It's just these moments of centering and grounding ourselves and having full gratitude, and just, because life isn't easy. Well, with practice, you strengthen that muscle. And I think, at least for me personally too, I've gotten better at dissolving the low times. Like, they don't last days anymore. They can be hours, maybe half a day, maybe a full day. But for the most part, I'm pretty good at getting through them. But I would say I've been in the past been guilty of burying myself in perspective and not allowing myself to feel, in the sense of, whether I'm, running Ike's turf or something like that, and a machine breaks or something fucks up, and you're just like, well, at least I'm not sick. At least I have a loving family, blah, blah. And what happens is I create this resistance. It's like, well, no, you need to let yourself feel. Let yourself feel angry. Let yourself feel frustrated and disappointed. Fucking scream if you need to. But like, just by burying those emotions doesn't get me anywhere.
Yeah.
And it finally came to surface, and I got hit in the head with a 2x4 once or twice.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got to start paying attention.
Yeah.
Because what I'm doing isn't working.
Yeah. Yeah. Emotions are energy in motion. And I would say better out than in. So and there's different ways of harnessing it. Breath work, exercise, walk. It can be more catabolic. So catabolic is tissue destructive. So really creating physiological shifts, and then you're waking things up. Or it could be more anabolic. So anabolic would be light circulation, like a walk or yoga or gentle stretching. So it's more like restoring. But there's many ways, and part of my journey is to educate and inspire and empower people with the knowledge of, like, well, how do you want to create a physiological shift? And know that it's going to make a psychological shift. And emotions are inevitable. So if you can harness your emotions, I think one of the best takeaways that anybody could do is, like, take a second to sit with yourself and then think about, what emotions do you actually want to feel more of? And then think of a moment where you feel that emotion, or what you can do is think of a moment where you feel that emotion, or next time you feel it, like, naturally, maybe the sun breaks through the clouds, or you make eye contact with a beautiful woman or something like that. You're like, I want to hold this feeling. I'm going to hold this feeling for just a little bit longer, to know it, to understand it. And that's going to teach your body to feel that feeling a little bit easier next time.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It can be trained.
Yeah, I like that. And I think where I first heard this concept is from Abraham Hicks, but your emotions are your inner guidance system, your GPS, right? And so if you're feeling angry, distraught, frustrated, depressed, all that sort of stuff, they're there. They want to be seen and acknowledged. And for me personally, recognizing why I might be angry or why I'm being triggered by something, and having enough awareness, or practicing awareness and understanding why I'm angry about something, it comes to surface, and then over time it ends up dissolving. And a stupid example would be, I think we talked about this before, but like, I can remember if I was in a rush somewhere, even if I wasn't, but open up the fridge and the milk spills, or a fucking bag of rice explodes on the floor, and you're just like, I can remember getting so triggered and just being so mad. But why? So through work and whatever the reasons might be, it's for another therapy session.
Yeah. But
I have recognized over time, like, the other day, the fridge opens up and the blueberries just spill everywhere.
Yeah.
So, look at that.
Yeah.
I guess I got to pick them up now.
Yeah.
There's no anger, there's no BS around it. And it sounds like a silly example, but I'm serious. Like, my ability to cope with my emotions, if you will, is so much better than it was years and years ago.
It's maintaining your center.
Yeah.
Because shit's going to happen. Milk's going to spill. And even a good inquiry would be, how'd your parents react to the rice spilling?
Yeah, I know exactly how one of them would have reacted.
And was it anything similar to how you might have reacted, like
100%,
a past version of yourself? So it's very interesting. You're like, huh?
Yeah.
Who programmed this who programmed this like reaction into me? And it's like, okay, well, what's really true, and like how can I not keep that going?
Mm-hmm.
I made a post on Instagram the other day. I was like having to get out the door, and I fucking spilt my coffee.
Oh, that's right.
Everywhere. And I just took like a selfie with me and the spilt coffee everywhere, and I'm like, it's nice. You have a regulated nervous system when you can spill coffee when you got to get out the door, and you just see it for what it is. And you're like, okay, well, I'm going to clean this up, and I'm going to get to my appointment when I get to my appointment, because I'm not going to leave this coffee just sitting on, it literally like went off the counter into the drawer,
just everywhere,
like down the front of the drawers, and then in. Oh, it was everywhere.
Yeah, on
the floor. I was like, okay.
The crazy thing is, like, how much power and pride did you have in that moment that you didn't lose your mind?
So I was
the amount of self-reflection in that moment, like, oh my God, I'm good.
Well, how far I've come.
Yeah.
How far I've come. It's wild.
Well, and that's, this is a quote that I don't use enough, and I should, but it is from Wayne Dyer, and it's he's got this anecdote in this little story. We'll share some other time, but many of us are guilty of just taking life too goddamn seriously. Mm-hmm. And so when that happens, can you laugh at it? Can you find the humor in it? Because, I think humor can get us through a lot of things, a lot of pain, right?
Oh.
But good for you. I can only imagine. I've been in those moments. You're just like, it's everywhere. Every nook and cranny. You're just like, Christ's sakes. Yeah. And to combat that, you had to be somewhere.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And what would my higher self do? He'd be like, it's okay.
Yeah. And I'm really, that's one thing that a big takeaway, and the more we're practicing it through your class and stuff like that, but like, yeah, asking that question, what would your higher self do? We did those skits at the Movement Experience. Yeah. There's some blackmail footage out there of a few of us.
Yeah.
But, God. But it was a good exercise. It just brings some awareness to when you get in some sticky situations, whether it's communication with people, relationship, a stranger, a spouse, whatever. Yeah. And it's like literally being able to check out for 2 seconds in an instant and just go, how would my higher self handle this? Yeah. And it helps dissolve so much,
And my higher self he's wise, he's calm, he's cool, he's collected, all that. Like, regardless of the situation. He knows how to hold a space.
Yeah.
If I want to be a father one day, and if my kid was there watching me, like, just lose my mind out of something I couldn't control, like, he's probably, or she might feel heightened, like, oh my God, can I really trust this person? And it kind of creates distrust. So how can I be fully embodied and just be calm, cool, and collected always? And I really try to live by example. So I practice what I preach every day. I eat clean, healthy food sourced from beautiful farms in my local area. I exercise and move my body daily. I participate in self-development. I'm always learning, growing, and becoming the man I want to be, or I see in the future, my higher self. And I'm making the world a better place by sharing my knowledge and being fully a participant in community, because you can't really go it alone. Mm-hmm. So it's that true practice what you preach, so that I know that I'm living in alignment and integrity with everything, and I just love to do it. It doesn't feel like it's a strain, like I'm not trying.
Yeah.
It's just the product of my higher goal, or my dream, which is make the world a better place.
Mm-hmm. And you've done a great job, because we're getting through your 60-day challenge that you've established, And yeah, just for me personally, just embodying the lifestyle that I want, my higher self wants. And yeah, it's immersive, and we're checking in with you, and it's just it's a good practice, and it's again a muscle. It's repetitive, the theme, but yeah, everything just needs repetition, and that's what I'm recognizing. So it's been good.
Yeah, that course is really just a practice of embodiment of what it's actually like to create the higher self archetype.
Look at us go. Yeah.
What time is it?
That's just almost an hour. But really? What I brought that up too was just the importance of values.
Yeah.
What do you truly value?
Yeah.
Where are you going to spend your money? Where's your higher self want to spend money?
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff, right? Do you value a good sleep, or are you going to get intoxicated and have a rough sleep? And I'm not against all that. We'll talk about that. Alcohol is a really good topic. Yeah, that's one of my big takeaways is just that word value. And what do you value more?
Yeah. Values. That we're going to do a podcast on values because I'm very passionate about it. But it's really like, how do you live in integrity with the higher self? And values are a beautiful way to really get clear on where you're going to send your energy.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Well, maybe that's a good segue for the next one.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. I'm talked out. Are you good?
I'm good, dude. That was fun.
Yeah, that was good. Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Thank you for being with us. We love recording these podcasts. If you know anyone who would resonate with today's episode, we would be grateful if you would share it with them. If you have any questions or comments, do not be shy and reach out. We would love to connect with you. Until next time, be well, love yourself, and live consciously.